My beloved child, stop scrolling for a moment. Do not move past this message too quickly. Do not treat this as another random video appearing on your screen, because deep inside, you already feel something different about this moment. Something inside you paused before your finger could swipe away. Something inside your spirit became still. That was not coincidence. You were guided here for a reason. And before you continue listening, I need you to understand something carefully. I know what you have been carrying. I know the pressure sitting silently inside your chest. I know the thoughts you have not spoken aloud because you feared no one would truly understand them. I know how exhausted you have become, pretending you are okay while secretly feeling overwhelmed inside. I saw every silent battle. I saw the nights when your mind would not rest. I saw you staring into the darkness, replaying situations over and over, wondering how your life became so heavy. I saw the moments when you smiled in front of others while carrying sadness no one else could detect. I saw the tears you wiped away quickly before anyone noticed. I saw the disappointment you buried deep within yourself, because you were tired of explaining your pain to people who never fully understood it. And still, you kept going. That matters more than you realize. My child, many people around you have no idea how much strength it took for you to survive this season. They only saw the outside version of you. They saw you continue working, continue responding, continue functioning. But they never saw the emotional exhaustion hidden underneath your silence. They never saw how close you came to giving up internally. They never saw how many times you questioned whether things would ever truly change for you. But I saw everything. I heard every prayer, even the prayers that never became words, even the moments when all you could do was sit quietly with a heavy heart, because you were too emotionally drained to explain what you were feeling anymore. I was there. And listen to me carefully now, because this next part is important. You have spent too much time believing your struggle meant you were failing. But your survival already proves otherwise. The fact that you are still here listening to these words, after everything that tried to crush your spirit, is proof that something greater has been holding you together this entire time. You thought you were barely surviving, but I was sustaining you. You thought your strength was disappearing, but I was building deeper strength underneath the surface where you could not yet see it. You thought the delay meant abandonment. But there were things unfolding behind the scenes that your human eyes could not fully understand yet. My beloved child, I never left you alone in this process, not once. Even during the moments when you felt spiritually numb, even during the moments when your faith became weak, even during the moments when you questioned whether I still heard you, I remained beside you quietly, closer than your next breath, and that is why this message found you today. Because the season you are entering is not the same season you have been surviving. Something is changing now. You can already feel it. There has been a strange tension inside your spirit lately, a feeling that something is shifting, even if you cannot fully explain it yet. Part of you feels tired from the battle, but another part of you feels like you are standing near the edge of something new. You have noticed it in quiet moments, small changes in your thinking, small awakenings inside your heart, moments where your spirit suddenly whispers, something is about to happen. You are not imagining that feeling. This is the beginning of transition. The chapter that exhausted you cannot continue forever. The pain that shaped you will not define your entire future. The confusion that clouded your vision is beginning to lift. But before I fully bring you into what comes next, there are things I need your heart to understand first, because you still do not fully realize what this battle has done to you. You still do not understand how much you have changed. And honestly, my child, part of you is still carrying fear from everything you survived. You are afraid to fully hope again because disappointment has visited your life too many times before. You have learned how to emotionally brace yourself for bad news. You have learned how to lower your expectations to protect your heart. You have learned how to prepare for things falling apart before they even begin. I know why. Pain taught you to live cautiously. Delayed answers taught you to expect silence. Broken trust taught you to guard your emotions carefully. But hear me now. You cannot walk into a new season while remaining emotionally chained to the fear of your old one. That burden is becoming too heavy for you to carry. I never created you to live trapped inside constant anxiety, constant emotional survival, constant inner exhaustion. I did not create you to spend your life secretly drowning beneath invisible pressure while pretending everything is fine. I want peace for you, real peace, not temporary distraction, not forced positivity, not emotional numbness. True peace deep within your spirit. And that peace begins when you finally understand this truth. You survived for a reason. The enemy thought the pressure would destroy you. The enemy thought the betrayal would harden you. The enemy thought the delay would make you quit. The enemy thought the loneliness would silence your purpose. But you are still here, still breathing, still searching, still listening, still hoping even after everything. And that alone terrifies the darkness fighting against you, because what tried to break you failed. Listen closely now, because this next part matters deeply. The battle was never only about your circumstances, it was about your identity. The pressure came to convince you that you were weak. The disappointment came to convince you that you were forgotten. The silence came to convince you that your prayers were useless. The exhaustion came to convince you that you had no future left. But none of those things spoke the truth about you. I need you to hear my voice louder than your fear now. You are not forgotten. You are not abandoned. You are not too broken. You are not too late. You are not disqualified because of how exhausted this season made you feel. In fact, the reason the battle became so intense is because your future carries more weight than you realize. There is purpose attached to your survival. There is meaning attached to your pain. And there is something inside you that heaven refuses to let die. That is why you kept getting back up, even when you felt emotionally empty. That is why something inside you kept reaching for hope, even after disappointment. That is why your spirit still responds to messages like this, because deep within you, the flame still exists. Small, maybe, flickering, maybe, but alive. And I will protect that flame. I will strengthen it. I will breathe on it until the fire inside your spirit burns stronger than the fear that tried to silence you. But my child, this is only the beginning, because what you still do not realize is why this season had to happen the way it did. You thought you were only surviving pain, but something was being built inside you the entire time. And in the next part, I am going to reveal the hidden reason why the battle lasted so long, and why your life is about to change in a way you never expected. My beloved child, now I need you to go deeper with me, because there is something you have been carrying for a very long time, and most people around you never truly saw it. They saw your smile, they saw your routines, they saw you continuing forward, but they did not see the invisible exhaustion hidden underneath everything. They did not see the emotional weight sitting silently inside your chest every single day. And honestly, my child, sometimes even you stopped realizing how heavy it had become because you grew used to surviving with it. You adapted to the pressure. You adapted to the disappointment. You adapted to carrying sadness quietly while still trying to function normally. But I never intended for you to live weighed down like this. I need you to listen carefully now, because this part matters deeply. The burden you have been carrying is not only physical exhaustion, it is emotional exhaustion, spiritual exhaustion, mental exhaustion. It is the exhaustion that comes from fighting battles nobody else fully understands. It is the exhaustion that comes from overthinking every situation because your heart has been hurt before. It is the exhaustion that comes from constantly trying to stay strong while secretly feeling overwhelmed inside. You know exactly what I mean, don't you? You know what it feels like to lay down at night physically tired, but mentally unable to rest. You know what it feels like when your body is still, but your thoughts keep racing. You know what it feels like to replay conversations in your head wondering if you said the wrong thing. You know what it feels like to quietly question whether people truly value you or only value what you do for them. You know what it feels like to feel emotionally alone in rooms full of people. And slowly, without even realizing it, you began carrying emotional survival as if it were your normal way of living. But my child, that is not peace, that is survival mode. And survival mode was never meant to become your permanent home. I know there were moments when you wished someone would simply look at you and say, "I know you're tired." Not tired physically, tired internally, tired from always carrying responsibility, tired from disappointment, tired from hoping, tired from recovering, tired from pretending, tired from healing slowly, tired from trying to hold everything together while silently falling apart inside. I know. I saw every hidden crack. I saw the nights when your heart felt so heavy that even small problems suddenly felt overwhelming, because you were already emotionally overloaded. I saw the moments when one more disappointment almost pushed you over the edge, because you had already been carrying too much for too long. And still, you blamed yourself for struggling. You told yourself you should be stronger. You told yourself you should be handling things better. You told yourself other people have it worse. But listen to me carefully now. Pain does not become smaller simply because someone else is hurting too. Your exhaustion matters to me. Your tears matter to me. Your silent battles matter to me. And I need you to stop minimizing what this season has done to your heart. Because one of the greatest lies the enemy whispered to you was this: no one would understand anyway. That lie kept you isolated. That lie kept you emotionally trapped inside your own mind. That lie taught you to hide your pain instead of healing it. So you became skilled at functioning while wounded. You became skilled at smiling while anxious. You became skilled at helping others while quietly neglecting your own emotional needs. You became skilled at carrying pressure silently because you feared becoming a burden to people. But my beloved child, you were never meant to carry all of this alone. You were never created to live disconnected from peace and that hidden loneliness inside you. The loneliness nobody fully saw. The loneliness you learned to hide so well. I saw all of it. I saw you wondering why people could stand beside you physically while still feeling emotionally distant. I saw you longing for deeper connection while fearing vulnerability at the same time. I saw how betrayal changed the way you trust. I saw how disappointment made your heart cautious. I saw how repeated pain slowly taught you to emotionally prepare for loss before anything even happened. And now part of you struggles to fully relax because your nervous system became trained for survival instead of peace. That is why resting feels difficult sometimes. That is why silence sometimes feels uncomfortable. That is why your thoughts become loud at night, because your soul has been carrying unresolved heaviness for too long. But hear me now, my child. I am not exposing these wounds to shame you. I am revealing them because healing cannot fully happen in hiding. You keep asking me for breakthrough while quietly ignoring your emotional exhaustion. You keep asking me to open new doors while your spirit is secretly begging for rest. You keep asking for change around you while your heart is crying out for healing within you. And I want you to understand something powerful right now. You do not need to pretend to be okay with me. You do not need to impress me with fake strength. You do not need to hide your weakness from me. I already know. I know where you feel emotionally drained. I know where fear still lives inside you. I know where disappointment wounded your confidence. I know where rejection made you question your worth, and still, I love you completely. Nothing about your exhaustion has disqualified you from my purpose. In fact, some of the people I use most deeply are the ones who know what it feels like to carry pain quietly. Because pain changes the way you see others. Pain deepens compassion. Pain teaches gentleness. Pain teaches understanding. Pain breaks pride. Pain reveals what truly matters. But listen closely now, because this next truth may completely change the way you see your struggle. The hidden weight you carried was not only revealing your weakness, it was also revealing what needed healing inside you. The pressure exposed where fear still controlled your thinking. The disappointment exposed where your identity became attached to outcomes. The loneliness exposed how much you needed deeper connection with me instead of constant validation from people. The exhaustion exposed how much pressure you were placing on yourself to always hold everything together. My child, there are parts of you that became tired because you were carrying things I never asked you to carry. You carried responsibility for other people's emotions. You carried guilt that did not belong to you. You carried pressure to constantly prove your worth. You carried unrealistic expectations. You carried fear of disappointing everyone around you. And slowly, that emotional weight began crushing your inner peace. But I am calling you out of that prison now. You do not need to earn your value. You do not need to prove your worth through exhaustion. You do not need to destroy yourself trying to keep everyone else happy. You do not need to carry every burden placed in front of you. Some things must finally be released. And I know part of you fears letting go because you became so used to carrying these burdens that they almost became part of your identity. But my child, healing requires release. Peace requires surrender. Rest requires trust. And I am asking you now to trust me enough to stop carrying what is destroying your inner world. Because if you continue living emotionally overloaded, eventually your spirit becomes too exhausted to recognize joy even when blessings arrive. That is why I am slowing you down right now. That is why this message found you. Because before the next season fully begins, before the breakthrough fully arrives, before the new doors open, your soul must breathe again. You cannot carry old emotional chains into your new season. You cannot walk into peace while remaining addicted to survival mode. You cannot fully receive healing while constantly pretending you are fine. So let me ask you something honestly, my beloved child. What burden are you still carrying that you were never meant to hold alone? What pain have you hidden for so long that it now feels normal? What fear keeps whispering inside your mind every day? What disappointment still secretly controls your emotions? Bring it into my presence now, not tomorrow, not someday, now. Because the healing already began the moment you stopped running from the truth of what your soul has been carrying. And listen carefully. This hidden weight is not the end of your story. It is the very place where transformation is about to begin. Because in the next part, I am going to reveal the moment you almost gave up completely and why heaven never allowed you to break. My beloved child, there is something I need you to remember honestly now. You almost gave up, not just once, many times. There were moments when your heart became so tired that continuing forward felt impossible. There were days when you smiled on the outside while internally wondering how much longer you could carry this weight. There were nights when the silence became so loud that you questioned everything you once believed about your future. And I know something you rarely admit even to yourself. Part of you became emotionally numb simply because feeling everything all the time became too exhausting. You stopped expecting too much because disappointment hurt too deeply. You stopped hoping too openly because delayed answers drained your spirit. You stopped speaking honestly about your pain because you grew tired of explaining wounds people could not fully understand. And slowly, without realizing it, survival became your daily routine. But listen to me carefully now, my child. The fact that you almost gave up does not mean you were weak. It means the battle was real. I need you to stop condemning yourself for struggling during one of the hardest emotional seasons of your life. You were carrying pressure while still trying to function. You were carrying heartbreak while still trying to stay kind. You were carrying uncertainty while still trying to move forward. You were carrying exhaustion while still trying to believe better days could come. And honestly, my beloved child, some days you were not even sure why you kept going anymore. You only knew something deep inside refused to completely surrender. That was me sustaining you. even when your faith felt fragile, even when your thoughts became dark, even when fear kept whispering worst-case scenarios into your mind. I never released my hand from your life. Not once. You thought you were holding yourself together alone, but heaven was carrying you in ways you could not see. There were moments when you came dangerously close to emotionally collapsing. Moments when one more disappointment felt unbearable. Moments when your confidence shattered quietly behind closed doors. Moments when you looked at your life and secretly wondered if things would ever truly change. I saw every one of those moments. I saw the heaviness in your eyes. I saw how emotionally drained you became, trying to stay strong for everyone else. I saw the frustration of watching other people move forward while your own life felt delayed. I saw the anger you sometimes buried because you feared feeling bitter. I saw the loneliness that settled into your spirit after too many silent battles. And still, you woke up again, still breathing, still trying, still searching for hope, still listening for my voice even when the silence hurt. That matters more than you understand, because many people quit internally long before they quit physically, but something inside you kept resisting total surrender, and I need you to understand why. Because your purpose is stronger than your pain. The enemy attacked your mind so aggressively because your future carries weight. The pressure became intense because something valuable lives inside you. The battle became personal because your survival threatens the darkness fighting against you. My child, there were spiritual forces hoping exhaustion would silence your destiny. They hoped disappointment would harden your heart. They hoped delay would convince you that your prayers were meaningless. They hoped loneliness would disconnect you from your purpose. They hoped fear would trap you in survival mode forever. But you are still here. That alone is proof the battle did not win. And listen closely now, because this next truth is important. You thought the greatest miracle would be the situation changing. But one of the greatest miracles is that your heart survived everything it went through without completely losing the ability to hope. Do you realize how powerful that is? After everything, after the betrayal, after the delays, after the emotional exhaustion, after the disappointment, after the uncertainty, part of your spirit still reaches toward light. That is not weakness. That is resilience heaven planted inside you. And yes, there were moments when you became angry, moments when confusion overwhelmed your faith, moments when you wondered why I allowed certain things to happen. I was not offended by your questions, my child. I understood your pain, because pain has a way of making even strong people feel fragile sometimes. But what you still do not fully understand is this. The moments you thought you were breaking were actually revealing what needed healing inside you. Pressure exposed wounds that had been hidden for years. Delay exposed fears you had buried deep inside yourself. Disappointment exposed how much your identity became attached to outcomes. Loneliness exposed how deeply your soul needed connection beyond temporary validation from people. And though the process hurt deeply, it was uncovering truth. Because healing cannot happen where denial still exists. My beloved child, there were parts of your heart trying to survive on constant control. You tried to predict everything, manage everything, prevent every possible disappointment. But slowly this season taught you something difficult. You are not in control of everything. And honestly, that terrified you. Because control felt safer than trust. Control felt safer than vulnerability. Control felt safer than uncertainty. But your constant need to emotionally prepare for disaster was exhausting your soul. You were living in defense mode constantly, waiting for bad news, waiting for rejection, waiting for something else to fall apart. And eventually, your nervous system forgot what peace even felt like. But I am restoring peace to you now. Not fake peace, not temporary escape, real peace. The kind that remains steady even when life feels uncertain. The kind that allows your spirit to breathe again. The kind that reminds you that you do not have to carry tomorrow's fears every moment of today. But before that peace fully settles into your life, there is something I need you to release first. You must stop defining yourself by your hardest season. You are not merely the exhausted one. You are not merely the anxious one. You are not merely the rejected one. You are not merely the person who struggles. That is not your full identity. Yes, the battle affected you. Yes, the pain changed you. But it did not erase who I created you to become. And my child, the version of you emerging from this season is stronger than the version that entered it. You may not fully see it yet, but you are becoming more discerning, more emotionally aware, more spiritually sensitive, more honest, more grounded. The old version of you depended on constant reassurance, but now you are learning endurance. The old version of you panicked easily, but now you are learning stillness. The old version of you chased external validation, but now you are beginning to understand deeper identity. The fire changed you, and though part of you mourns who you used to be, another part of you is becoming someone far wiser than before. Do not fear that transformation, because I am not destroying you. I am rebuilding you. And yes, rebuilding sometimes feels uncomfortable. Healing sometimes feels messy. Growth sometimes feels lonely. Transformation sometimes feels confusing because you no longer fully fit the life you used to live. That is why certain people no longer understand you. That is why old environments feel different now. That is why your spirit has been craving deeper peace instead of shallow distractions. You are changing, and heaven is allowing that change because your future requires a stronger foundation than your past could provide. But hear me carefully now, because this next part matters deeply. The reason you survived this season was not merely to survive it. You survived because one day your story will become proof for someone else that giving up is not the answer. Your pain will become wisdom. Your survival will become strength. Your healing will become testimony. One day someone else will feel hopeless, and your story will help keep them alive. Nothing you endured will be wasted. Not the tears, not the waiting, not the confusion, not the lonely nights, not the emotional battles nobody else saw. I will use all of it. And before we continue, my beloved child, I need you to do something important. Stop speaking to yourself as if you lost. You survived. You are still standing after battles that should have destroyed your confidence completely. You are still breathing after seasons that emotionally drained you. You are still searching for light after darkness tried to swallow your hope. That is not failure. That is proof of my hand on your life. So hear me now clearly. You did not come this far to break now. You did not survive all of this just to remain trapped in fear. And in the next part, I am going to reveal why the delay lasted so long and why heaven refused to let certain doors open before now. My beloved child, now we must talk about the question your heart has asked 1,000 times in silence. Why did it take so long? Why did the answer delay? Why did the breakthrough move slowly? Why did the healing feel incomplete for so long? Why did you have to carry the pressure longer than you thought you could endure? I know how many times you looked at your life and quietly wondered if you were being forgotten. I know how many times you compared your timeline to other people and felt confused watching doors open for them while your own prayers seemed trapped in silence. I know how difficult it became to stay hopeful while waiting, because waiting can exhaust the human heart in ways people rarely talk about, especially when you are trying to trust me while nothing around you appears to be changing, especially when you are praying sincerely but still waking up inside the same battle, especially when you keep hearing "hold on" while your spirit feels tired of holding everything together. I know. And my child, I need you to hear this next truth very carefully, because it may completely change the way you see your past. The delay was never punishment. The delay was preparation. You thought you were only waiting for circumstances to change, but I was preparing deeper things inside you first. Because if I had opened certain doors too early, if I had released certain blessings too quickly, if I had answered some prayers immediately, the version of you standing there at that time would not have been emotionally ready to sustain what was coming. And because I love you, I refuse to rush what needed maturity. I know that truth is difficult to fully accept sometimes, because pain always wants immediate relief. Fear always wants quick reassurance. Exhaustion always wants instant escape. But your future required more than temporary comfort. Your future required transformation. My beloved child, there were patterns inside you that still needed healing. There were fears still controlling your decisions. There were emotional wounds still shaping your identity. There were attachments that would have destroyed your peace if I allowed them to continue growing. And there were people around you who could not follow you into your next season. So while you were asking me to change your situation, I was changing you. Quietly, deeply, carefully, even during the moments when you thought nothing was happening. Listen closely now. Some delays protected you from things you were not ready to see yet. Some closed doors prevented greater heartbreak later. Some disappointments redirected you away from paths that would have drained your soul. Some relationships had to break because they could not survive where I am taking you. Some opportunities disappeared because success without peace would have slowly destroyed you from within. But at the time, you could not fully understand that, because human vision sees the immediate pain, while heaven sees the entire future. That is why you must stop interpreting every delay as rejection. Not every wait means no. Sometimes wait means I am protecting you. I am preparing you. I am strengthening your foundation. I am healing what would sabotage your future. I am aligning the right timing. And my child, timing matters more than you realize. There are blessings that become dangerous when received too early. There are opportunities that become destructive without emotional maturity. There are doors that would have fed your insecurity instead of healing it. There are relationships you once begged for that would have deepened your exhaustion instead of bringing peace. But because you could only see your immediate desire, you mistook protection for delay. You mistook silence for abandonment. You mistook slow growth for failure. Meanwhile, beneath the surface, I was building things you could not yet see. I was teaching you discernment. I was teaching you patience. I was teaching you how to survive uncertainty without collapsing emotionally. I was teaching you how to stay grounded when life feels unstable. I was teaching you how to depend on me instead of attaching your entire identity to outcomes. And honestly, my beloved child, some of those lessons could only be learned slowly, because fast growth rarely creates deep roots. And the future I have for you requires deep roots, not temporary excitement, not shallow confidence, real stability. The kind that survives pressure, the kind that remains standing when storms return, the kind that carries peace instead of panic. And I know there were moments when the process frustrated you deeply, moments when you asked me, why can't things just become easier? Moments when you became emotionally tired of always learning through hardship. Moments when your spirit cried out for relief because you felt stretched beyond your limits. I heard every one of those cries, and I never dismissed your pain. But I also knew something you could not fully see yet. The version of you being formed during this delay would eventually become strong enough to carry the very thing you once feared losing. That is why the old version of you had to change first. Because before this season, your peace depended too heavily on external circumstances. Your confidence depended too heavily on immediate results. Your identity depended too heavily on how others responded to you. But now, you are becoming steadier. You are becoming deeper. You are becoming less controlled by panic. You are becoming more emotionally aware. You are becoming more spiritually grounded. And even though the process felt slow, you are no longer the same person who entered this battle. The delay changed you, but not in the way fear told you. Fear said, you're falling behind, but heaven said, you're being prepared. Fear said, "You're forgotten," but heaven said, "You're being protected." Fear said, "You're failing," but heaven said, "You're developing strength." My beloved child, there is another reason the delay lasted longer than you expected. Because some things around you had to collapse before your next season could begin. Certain illusions had to break. Certain unhealthy attachments had to weaken. Certain false identities had to die. You kept asking for new doors while still emotionally attached to old versions of yourself. You kept asking for peace while still tolerating environments draining your spirit. You kept asking for clarity while surrounding yourself with noise. And slowly through this process, I began separating you from what could not continue into your future. That separation hurt. Because growth often feels like loss before it feels like freedom. You mourned people, mourned expectations, mourned timelines, mourned versions of life you thought would happen differently. But my child, not everything you lost was meant to remain. And not every ending was destruction. Some endings were deliverance. Some endings were rescue. Some endings were mercy disguised as disappointment. One day you will look back at certain closed doors and thank me for not allowing them to remain open. One day you will realize some prayers were answered by removal instead of arrival. And when that understanding fully reaches your spirit, peace will replace confusion. But listen carefully now, because this next part matters deeply. The delay is not your permanent reality. This season of stretching is not your final destination. Something is changing now. Can you feel it? There has been movement beneath the surface lately. Small shifts, quiet awakenings, new understanding. The heaviness is beginning to crack. The version of you that survived constant emotional survival mode cannot remain forever. You are moving into transition. And even though part of you still fears disappointment, another part of you can already sense breakthrough approaching. That feeling is not imagination. Heaven is shifting things. Doors are aligning. Strength is returning. Clarity is increasing. And your spirit is slowly awakening from exhaustion. But before the next season fully opens, there is still one truth you must understand. The thing that almost destroyed you, the very battle you begged to escape, was secretly building something powerful inside you the entire time. And in the next part, I am going to reveal why the pain that nearly broke you became the very thing preparing your future.